It's hilarious.
All right, can everybody hear me? Can you hear me, Jay?
Rude.
Loud and clear.
Do the Geo back.
Lights off.
Okay, good. All right, guys. We're not, like I said to everyone, we're not going to go over anything that's like very sexy today. It's not like going to help you make extra sales. What it's going to do though, it's going to help your retention of business, and it's going to help you put cleaner policies through. Right? Very, very important thing for all of us to do. I'm sure everybody that went through training, went through the underwriting issues, went through common illnesses, things like that. Right? I know this is March Madness, and I know that we're all trying to put a lot of business on the books and get $100,000 this week. I get that, right? But we put $100,000 on the books this week, and 30,000 of it falls off. Do we really do 100,000? Yeah. Right. So let's put clean business on the books so it all sticks. So we don't have to worry about retention issues down the road, right? So today we're going to go over field underwriting, what you guys can and can't do in the home. We're going to go over ways to look at underwriting to help you guys out effectively, like to help our members, you know, the information that you need to show them, right? And then we're going to go over some of the guidelines that have changed a little bit, okay? And then, you know, I'll leave you guys with time with some questions. So I'm going to get through everything pretty quick today because I know, you know, we've got packed today. Any time that we're not either in meetings, we need to call in and get some stuff set. So first thing I wanted to go over is why underwriting in the house is important, right? So our company, we do a little bit of underwriting in the house. That's why you go over those medical questions with them, okay? So why it's important is because this is the first underwriting that they're seeing. These are the first medical questions that they're being asked, right? Of course, the policy does go through actual underwriting once we put it through the home office, but we're the first line of defense for that, right? So first thing I would tell you guys when you're going into underwriting is ask all of the medical questions the way that they're worded. Do not skip them. Do not put your own words in there, okay? People are missing and skipping words, and people have illnesses. The medications are popping up on the underwriting bulletins. We're not able to get back in contact with them. At NTOs, the policy falls off, it lapses, bad things happen, okay? So it all just comes from asking them the right questions, asking them the questions that are on the page, right? Now, you cannot control if they lie to you. Can't control that, right? But what you can control is how you approach those questions. So Mary and Joe, you know, as much as you need this protection, as much as your family needs this protection, as much as I want to help you out with this protection, we have to make sure you can qualify first. I'm gonna let you know the qualifications are a bit more stringent, right? Get them associated with that. Let them know that the qualifications are a little tough, so that when they do get rated, they're like, oh, okay, I get it. It's because it's tough to qualify for, right? So when you're talking to them about their coverage, let's say that you go all the way through the medical questions and it looks good. There's no yeses on there except for have they had a physical, right? I've not really heard this, but I want to beat it. I want to nip it in the bud first, right? Do not tell them you're guaranteed for coverage. Please do not do that, guys, okay? Because they're not. They're not guaranteed for coverage. What you can say is it looks like, based upon the answers to the questions I asked you, it looks like you would be able to qualify for coverage. Does that make sense? Do not just tell them, hey, you're very healthy, you're going to be 100% approved. But they lied to you. All right? So, and that always comes back on you as the in-home underwriter because you didn't ask the questions right. I mean, we do have underwriters at home office that ask them questions when they get the policy approved, but it starts with you guys. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Now, the other thing I wanted to go over why underwriting is important. If we don't put clean policies through, guys, they're not going to come clean on the back end. We're getting a lot of, and I see all the underwriting bulletins, all the modifications. We're getting a lot of APS forms, right? One big one in Illinois is Advocate Health. They need their own APS, okay? So whenever you sit down with somebody and they have Advocate Health, just know you need to fill out an APS form for them too. Right? If you're in the home, make sure you bring an APS that has that. Right? If you're doing it virtual, let them know, hey, I'm going to DocuSign over you an APS form. You need to scan that or you need to sign that and send it back to me. That's going to prevent so many issues. And then when it does come through underwriting and it says APS needed, you already have it. All you got to do is send it off to them. That policy come right through. It'll be approved the next week. Right?
Yeah, how do you ask them like what their, is that what for doctor info you find out if they have?
Yes. Yeah. So it's like a chain of hospitals.
Yeah,
It's medical facilities. They're everywhere in Illinois. That's really the only one in Illinois that requires that APS. Every other one will typically accept the electronic one that we send them. But Advocate will not accept the electronic one. Does that make sense? So sometimes.
Hey, Drew. Oh.
Hold on.
What does APS stand for again?
It's the protected health information. So it's like the HIPAA form.
Okay.
But it's specifically for Advocate Health. They're in the back room there. There's one that specifically says Advocate Health Group on top of it. I believe it's 2 pages. So watch that one.
All right.
Right.
Cool.
Hey, Drew,
Yes.
where did you just say this? How do you know they have Advocate Health?
Yeah. You just ask them. They need their doctor's information, right? So under their doctor's information. So for doctor's information too, here's what we're seeing on a lot of apps. I don't know if you guys are doing this or not, but where it says name, address, and name and address and phone number of personal physician, it's tough to fit doctor this facility, and then this in that little line. Please just put C remarks and put it under the remarks. That way you can fit everything in there. Right? I know some people are getting callbacks on why is this hospital in here? The doctor's not associated with it, right? But the only reason why is because the wording is cut off. Okay. So if it's a long hospital, a long doctor information, put it under the remarks section. Okay. And what they need to get it for it to be clean and have no issues, no phone calls, nothing like that, they usually need the doctor's name, they need the name of the facility, right? And they need the address. Right. And of course the phone number as well. Right. I know you guys are smart. Use Google. If they tell you who their doctor is, Google it really quickly, pull it up and say, oh, is it on this address in this state? Verify it with it. Don't just put it into the app. Okay. The other big thing on the remarks section while we're talking about that, this has been happening a lot, especially with child coverage. Okay. When the child is 16 years or older, you need to note on the remarks section if they have a driver's license or not. If they are a licensed driver, you do have to put the driver's license in the remarks section. If they are not a licensed driver, applicant is not a licensed driver. Okay.
So we have to put like, even though like, let's say the kid is like 15 or 11. Or
16 or older.
Oh, yeah.
If they're 16 or older.
So just if they're 16 or older, then we put that they're not licensed, or if they are.
Correct.
Anything under that, we don't have to put that they're not licensed in our market.
Correct.
Right.
Yep. 16 or older.
Would you
So
put like applicant C1?
just put the kid's name. So insured, has driver's license. This is the number. Right. Other things with the child question, the child coverage that's popping up with the agency. I'm sure you guys know this. The child cannot have a lot of coverage if the parents have nothing. Okay. We're doing a disservice to that family. You guys understand that? The first person in that family that should be insured are the parents. Right? Because if something happens to them, the kids are SOL. Right? Yeah, the kids have a policy, but that money's not going to be anywhere. Right? So number one, we have to make sure the parents have coverage. Right? The kids. Now I understand our programs, our Head Start programs are great investments for kids. The numbers are always great. Right? The big thing about it is insurability on their health. That's the big thing with the Head Start programs. Right? So if you're insuring someone's health, you don't need to have $100,000 of coverage for that. Right? I get that that's an investment for that kid down the road, but the parents have to have double the kid's coverage. right? So if the parents have 100,000, the max the kids can get is 50, right? Now, when you're showing the kids coverage, the max accidental on that is 25,000 off the bat. Please do not throw 100,000 on there. You will have to rewrite the application, okay? We cannot send it off the home office. They can add that coverage on down the road for sure, but initially that's where they have to start at, right? And if the parents have no coverage, max is 30,000 for the kid, okay?
No coverage, so.
Well, 30,000 whole life, and then they can do 25 accidental, 25,000 GIO, right? And another thing I'm seeing, not everybody's guilty of it, but if you're doing the GIO, please just make it 25,000. Do not do a $10,000 or $15,000 GIO. It doesn't make sense. You're cutting that family short. All right, it's $1.67. Okay, it's nothing crazy, right? But when you're going through the child coverage, all right, there's basically 3 people that can get coverage on a child. It's the parents, the legal guardian, or the grandparents. No other person can get coverage on the child. Can't be the aunt getting coverage on the nieces. Can't do that. There's no insurable interest there. Okay. If that's the case, you can do a special, a special form. You can have an agent statement filled out for them. It says, hey, this is my, only niece or something like that, and they really want to protect it. There's special cases where that can go through, but normally, guys, just keep it to parents, grandparents, and whoever has custody of the child. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Hey,
Yes,
Drew,
Yes.
Well, one sec, Mason.
So just to make sure that, I'm not sure everyone knows, but like for parent coverage, for the child, if they have no coverage, their work coverage can count as their coverage.
Correct. Yes. Very good point, Marvin. And coverage on the parent is any coverage.
Yeah.
That's coverage at work. That's accidental. That's whole life. That's term. Any kind of coverage that they have, right? Now, if you do get them 100,000, they're probably gonna have to provide proof of insurance for that coverage.
Right.
Right? They'll probably ask them, hey, who do you have this coverage through? All right. You might get an underwriting bulletin on that. All right. Just know that in advance. But that's, yes, a very good point, Marvin. You had a question there, Mason?
yeah, I had a grandfather wanting to get coverage on his niece, and 2 questions. What age do they have to be to where you can do accidental? Because it wasn't even giving me an option for accidental because she was age 4.
I believe it's 5 years old. Once they turn 5, they can add accidental coverage.
Awesome. And then from what I know, whenever you're a grandparent, you can only do a max of 30,000, correct?
Correct.
And what if,
Yes.
because I asked me, he got a $30,000 coverage, but he said, hey, I really wanted to get like 50 for her. Can I do another $20,000 policy in like a month down the road? Could you do a double policy, or is it just at that application, or is it just total?
They have to get approved for the coverage first, so I wouldn't do it a month down the road. Wait till they get their policy in the mail, and then you can get back out to them. So about 6 to 8 weeks, maybe 2 months.
Gotcha.
All right, good questions, though. Good questions. All right. Anybody else here have any other questions before I go through for child coverage? No? Good. Okay, cool. All right. So the next big thing I want to go over with you guys is the height, weight, the build chart. Okay. A lot of people are messing this up. So underwriting guidelines from the company are 1 inch or 10 pounds. Not 1 inch and 10 pounds, one or the other, right? Now, does everybody know what the T-chart looks like with the height, weights, right? If not, I'll pull it up virtually for everybody here.
Wait, you just mean that they can be 10 pounds off? Like,
You can
Yeah, you
be
can
10
play with
pounds
10
off,
pounds.
or you could be 1 inch off, but you can't. be-
Correct.
right, and that's like if they, wait, I guess.
Yes,
Hopefully they tell me the right way.
So-
You can't play with it, but-
there we go. Hope it's popping up there. Maybe not. It looked like it was gonna pop up. All right. Yeah, so the height, weight chart, the build chart, there's levels to it. So the first thing you're gonna see is their height, and then the second thing will be in inches, so foot and inches, and then the third thing is pounds, right? And it goes T2, T3, T4, all the way up to T12, okay? Anything that's a T4 or more is an automatic trial application. Anything that's T3 or less will go through standard, right? Now, keep in mind, if they're on the T system at all, and they're on the T chart at all, there's gonna be a rating attached to it. Not a very crazy rating, but a couple bucks, right? So I advise you guys, if they're in this situation to where their height weight ratios are off, let them know there's gonna be a possible rating attached to this policy. Don't tell them it's because they're overweight. Break it down to them nicely. Say the verbiage you should use is, it looks like your height weight ratios are a little bit off from what the company standard is. So that takes all the pressure off you. That's not my standards. That's the company standards, right? So
That was good. It looks like your height.
yes. So
Looks like.
so based on your height weight ratios, they're a little bit off from what the company has set as standard. So what that means is they're going to apply a little bit of a rating to your policy. They might apply a little bit of a rating. Okay. Now with the height weight, the bill charts, why 10 pounds or 1 inch it is helpful to you guys is because sometimes on the T system, like for example, if a person is 6 foot tall and they weigh 300 pounds, they're going to be a T4. But if they're 6'1" or 6 foot and 290 pounds, they're a T3. So I just subtracted 10 pounds. So it brings them down into that category, right? Can't do 15 pounds, can't do 20 pounds, 10, right? And the other big thing about that is if you're going to do that, make sure the member knows that too. Make sure you clearly tell them, hey, when home office calls you, they're going to verify your height and your weight with you that you wrote down. Make sure you let them know that you're 6'1" and you weigh 290. Right? If someone doesn't know what they weigh, use their driver's license. Right? You're going to run into some people who have gained and lost weight in the last year. 20, 30 pounds sometimes.
Pregnancies.
Right? Yes. Again, that's a good point. That's what I had written down too as well. Pregnancy. So pregnancy weight is a little bit different too. They're going to look at the doctor's records for pregnancy weight because it's such a undefined thing. You know, some people gain 20 pounds, some people gain 100 pounds, right? Yeah, and another thing with pregnancy too, this doesn't come up very often, but we had someone on our team, bring it to my attention. When somebody is pregnant, they can get insurance up to the 3rd trimester. When they're in the 3rd trimester, it's going to be an automatic trial application. Okay, before that, they can get approved.
So they're in the 3rd trimester?
In the 3rd trimester, it's a trial. It's about 9 weeks. Now the trial usually goes through pretty quickly, and the one thing I want you to kind of take away from that pregnancy is there's a thing called gestational diabetes. People have it. A lot of women get it during pregnancy, right? They take medication for it. If that's the case, if they've had it in the last 5 years, you have to put that on the application. You have to. Because there's going to be a questionnaire that comes back about what medications they took in the last 5 years. And I have to get back on the phone with them, and you're going to have to go through all that over again. Just do it up front. Okay? Any medications in the last 5 years, they need to be put on the application. All right? Now, I'm talking about doctor prescribed medications. In general. I'm talking about doctor prescribed medications too, guys. Not talking about like if they go get Pepsid AC over the counter, right? I'm talking about ibuprofen or Tylenol, right? I'm talking about things that the doctor prescribes you medication for. Even if it's like gout, right? Please put that on the application. The reason why is we need to give the underwriters all the information they can get so that the application goes through quickly and they get their coverage quickly, right? If it takes a long time to get through underwriting, it's because there's a lot of gaps in the questions. They have to fill those gaps. They have to call people, right? Just make our underwriters' jobs that much easier, right? And the thing about that too is, guys, home office typically tries to keep you with the same underwriter through your whole process. So your underwriter at home office won't set your policies every single week. They're going to get familiar with the type of policies you write and medications you list, right? You put good applications through, they're going to be like, okay, that's cool. Another one through. They're not going to really even worry about or stress about them. But if you put bad applications through on a consistent basis, they're gonna either trial them, decline them. That's where this really goes in to help you guys out. The more effective you are and the better applications you put through, the easier they're going to go through home office, right? If there's a lot of bad banks and a lot of people who you write bad medical questions about or don't answer medical questions properly or leave things off the application, the underwriters see that stuff, guys. That's their job.
Like
Right.
Santa.
So, yeah, right? So get on their good list, not their naughty list, right? So the only other thing I wanted to go over with the height weight charts is sometimes kids coverage. You'll run into some kids who are abnormally large, right? There's nothing you can do about that, guys. If they're like off the T-chart system for a child, they're probably going to be a trial just because they're a little bit taller and a little bit bigger than most kids. Just know that it's going to go through quickly though. Once they look at the doctor records and they see, oh, this kid's healthy, go put it right through, right? But just know, like, don't get discouraged if you see something get tried. It's for a good reason, right? We're trying to save you guys, trying to save the company, trying to save the members, right? It's a good thing to try business. Don't be afraid to trial business. It's going to come through. And it's probably going to come through when you need it the most, to be honest with you. Like, I've had bad weeks and then I got 2 or 3K in trials come through. Okay, it's an okay week, right? But that's work you did before. So anybody have questions on the height weight to bill charts? Just keep in mind, guys, 1 inch or 10 pounds, not and. All right, you good there? Okay.
So are
Question
you
there.
saying like the kids chart that goes with their age?
Yes, there's two charts for juveniles or kids. There's one chart that goes from 0 months to 24 months. And then there's one that goes from age 2 to age 15. Okay. So use those. And in those charts, it doesn't give you like this person, this height, this weight. It just gives you a range. So it'll give you a range of how tall they are and a range to where they should be height, weight. And now if it's a little bit off on there, it's not a big deal. But if it says the kid is 5 years old and he's freaking 5'9" and he weighs 220 pounds at that age, probably going to be a trial. It's just an abnormality.
They don't say like the price for each T1, T2, T3.
Unfortunately, no. There are some agencies that do like pre-field underwriting, but it's so tough to calculate what the rating is going to be that it's just not worth our time to do that. You know what I mean? It's too inaccurate. It's just best basic. If you know, that's one big thing I had written down too. If you know that it's going to be a trial application, or you know it's going to be, there's going to be a rating attached to it, please just let the member know that. Right? I know you guys all say the rated risk that goes into it. Make sure that they understand when you're going over the rated risk with them that this is a possibility. This could happen. If the underwriters look into medications and then look into things that they see that things they don't like, they're going to get rated for this policy, right? And based on their age and health, the rating could be $2 for every 1,000. It could be $5 for every 1,000, right? So an effective way to kind of help this member out is keep the plan you're selling them, I don't want to say smaller, but keep it in the whole life category, if that makes sense. If you have somebody that is not great health, do not show them $100,000 coverage. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to like it. They're going to want it. They're going to get a rating attached to it that's $40 to $50. They're not going to like it so much anymore, right? So this is more of a refresher for you guys too. Whole life, preferred life, executive life, select life. Every time you go up in one of those brackets, they rate that person more stringently. They look at their health more stringently. right? Because it's cheaper per thousand of insurance. So your health has to be better. So if you're showing somebody $100,000 and they have diabetes, it's not going to be that price. You guys know that. There's going to be a mod that comes back and says, hey, we're taking this off, and it's going to be this much more a month. If you know that's going to happen, prepare the member for that, please. Let them know. It's going to make your job easier when it comes to underwriting. It's going to make your job easier when it comes to calling them back and saying, hey, Mary, great news. You know, your policy got approved from home office. It just looks like it's about $30, 30 cents a day more. Okay, that's good. All right, we're going to put that through, right? And when you're making those calls, guys, I always break it down to day. So if it's 30 extra bucks a month, it's another $1 a day, right? Break it down to small amounts. Does that make sense? Just know when you're placing those mods, the one thing you should do every single time is review their coverage really quickly with them, right? So Joe, the reason you and Mary wanted to get the coverage was to make sure your final expenses were protected and to make sure that Joe's income was protected. So, once again, the coverage that you're applying for here, you have the $100,000 in the 10-year term, and then you also have the $25,000 in the whole life for you, right? So, Joe and Mary, that rating there is going to be an extra, $1 a day, bringing your total up to $155 a month. So make sure that's comfortable for you. We're going to place that through and put it at the home office today. You should receive your paperwork in about 2 or 3 weeks, right? The main thing is letting them know before the process happens, right? So I know you guys are doing the solidification and the rated risk. The rated risk needs to be done every single time. You cannot let them go into the end of the application without knowing that there's something that could happen to the policy. Standard, rated, declined. All right, you need to say that in every presentation. It's going to help you guys because
At the end of the presentation with EAP, there's a box that comes up that you can scroll down on. Everything you needed to cover with them is going to be right on there.
100%, Matt, 100%. And I've been doing this for 5 years, guys. I read that off to them every single time. I just read it to them. Say, guys, I know you guys got stuff to do, but this is very important. The last very important step here, we got to make sure I read this off to you here. Right? And I'm walking through how it all works. If you read that to them, there shouldn't be any reason why they have a bad taste in their mouth if they get a rating attached to it. Right? They shouldn't have a bad taste in their mouth if they have to have the in-home physical. You're telling them that it's going to happen. So very good point, Matt. 100%. Definitely let them know that. Right? The last thing I really wanted to go over before I go over the new guidelines we have here is the field underwriting manual. So I have it popped up on the screen for everybody here. Does everyone know how to get to the field underwriting manual? Right. So if you're in EAP, you click help and then field underwriting manual is right there. It'll pop up a separate PDF for you that you guys can use. I recommend you guys going to Staples or somewhere, Kinko's, FedEx, whatever, print this out and bind it. That way you can look at it right when you're there. If you're in the home, you have it right there. I mean, I also recommend you just keeping it open on your computer. That way it's always there for you when you're doing virtual presentations. And you can actually screen share it with them and show them what you're looking at. That's something I would recommend too. Don't look at the field underwriting manual and then have them looking at your face. Have them look at it too. You're helping them out. You're giving them information, So the field underwriting manual, guys, and I'm going to walk through it just because it just needs to be done. So we're just going to click on arthritis, just rheumatoid arthritis for this one here, right? Now, I know you guys can't see this. I'm going to just turn the screen a little bit, right? So the top part there, that's a description of what the disease is, what it affects, right? So if you don't know what the disease is, take a couple minutes and read through it, right? The only thing we're worried about as agents is where it says life. The other two categories we're not worried about. Only what's under it's what it says life right there, right? Now the first category, right, I should say action needed, required action. So that's what you got to do in the house. So for rheumatoid arthritis, the agent should always complete an arthritis questionnaire, and APS is always required. Information the degree of impairment are involved with and the type of medication approved. Sorry. So basically what they need is if they have rheumatoid arthritis, that's telling the agent, you need to fill out an arthritis questionnaire right there. You're gonna have to get an APS question filled out, right? They're gonna need that. And letting them know if there's any medications, they have to put that listed on the medications part. So 29B, you're gonna click yes, and then put the medication and why it's prescribed and how long it's been prescribed, right? The underwriting engine is something you're gonna look at as well. So this is what's gonna happen after the underwriting. After you set the initial application, while it's going through underwriting, this is what home office is looking at. Standard issue can be considered for those cases with minimal joint involvement and no significant systematic complications. So it also says mild cases can range from a T2 to a T8 rating, right? And then it says also severe cases from T10 up would be uninsurable. All right, so if they have really bad rheumatoid arthritis, they're really not doing great, probably not going to get approved. All right. Every single disease that you guys can think of has their own little section on there, and it all looks the same. Once again, you're only really worried about health or life. Health. You're only really worried about life section. Okay. Walk them through this. Show them. That way they know, hey, because you have this, this is what's going to happen in underwriting. Give them all the information they need. This is showing them that you're the expert in the field. This is only helping you, right? It's making you look like, hey, this guy's going the extra mile for me right now. He's showing me things that probably I shouldn't be seeing. I mean, it's a good thing to show them. Why not? You know? But every single illness is on there. And the way the PDF is laid out, the top first page, it's like an index. All you have to do is click on the disease and it'll bring you right to where you're looking at. Okay. The other thing that I want to go over in the underwriting bulletin is the underwriting flash sheet. Now, with the old agency, we had like a yellow card that has all the underwriting things that are declines, right? In here, there's one as well. You'll see, and I'm going to show you guys really quickly, underwriting flash sheet. That's what it looks like. All right. Now, only thing, once again, we're worried about is the life category right here, the first category. Every other thing we don't have to worry about. If there's an X in the box, it means they are declined for coverage. They cannot apply for coverage, right? If there is no X in the box, it means they're going to get coverage. Now, you got to pay attention to the wording on this underwriting sheet, right? Because it says, if you look at cancer, it says cancer, internal, breast cancer, colon cancer, uterine cancer. If it was treated within the last 2 years, it's a decline. If they're 2 years out of treatment, they're good, right? 2 years clear of treatment, all medications. That's what that means, guys. Not that they're 2 years clear of the disease. If they still go to chemo or radiation or take medications for it, they're still going through. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I have a question.
Yep.
So my brother has, he's been in remission for 10 years
Okay.
with multiple myeloma, but he still takes the chemo med.
Mhm.
And they keep giving him that to keep it in remission. So that would be declined?
Unfortunately,
Okay,
you can put a trial application through in that process.
okay.
Like I would always say, guys, if it's on the line, on the cusp of something like that,
Mhm.
put a trial application through. The worst thing they're going to say is no. If they get approved, then it's great.
Mhm.
It's never going to hurt you guys as retention, as agents wise. It's never going to hurt the customer. They're never going to be declined. It's not going to say declined on their paperwork, right? So it's a good thing. Put a trial through for that, for instance. And if you guys don't know, if you're in the house and you're like, oh my God, I've never heard of this before. What do? Call your manager, right? And I know all the managers that came from areas. We know that if you guys call us, and if I'm busy, I'm probably not going to answer your phone call. If you call me twice, I'm definitely picking that second one up because I know you're in a house or you're in a situation where you need my help. So call your manager twice. Right? So don't be offended if I don't answer the first time. I might be busy. If I'm not busy, I'll answer that phone call all day. But if I'm busy, if I'm in the sit myself, I can't answer that. If you call me twice, I'll stop my sit. I'll say, hey, Mary and Joe, I'm one of our field managers in the office. One of my agents is with another member. Do you mind if I take this call for 1 second? I got to help them out. And they're never going to say no. Even with you're in the house with somebody and you're like, you know what, Mary, you know, I've been through this before, but I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing for you here. Let me call my manager and make sure that this is the correct underwriting process for that.
That's what I had to do.
Right? They're not going to be like, oh, this guy don't know what he's doing. They're going to be like, okay, he gets some extra help. Okay, let's make sure we get it right. They're going to appreciate that, guys. They really will. Okay. So underwriting flash sheet, please get familiar with it. Print it out. Keep it in front of you. There's a lot of things on here that are very common. A couple of them, DUI, DWI, you're going to run into that. Just know if they had 2 DUIs within the last 5 years, right? And the second one was in the last 2 years, it's a decline. Or if they've had 3 or more, it's a decline. But if they've had 2 in the last 5 years and they were both 5 years ago, they're okay. Or if they've had 2 over the last 25 years, they're okay. 3 or more, no. 2 in the last 5 years, and that second one within the last 2 years, no. The only reason I'm going over that is because it's pretty common. They're going to run into people with DUIs. It happens.
So does that include like license suspension as well?
No,
Okay.
just DUI or DWI.
Okay.
Yep.
So, never mind.
No, you got, I mean, go ahead. You got, I'm here.
So you said 2 in the last 25 years, or did you say 25 at all or not?
I did, but it was kind of like,
Okay, so what,
Don't
does
have
that
it.
matter? What if one of them was in the last 2 years?
if they have 1 and it was in the last 2 years, they're okay. It's
Okay.
multiple DUIs.
You
Okay.
said 3 in the last 5 years or 3 total?
3 total.
3 total is a decline.
Correct.
True, and then 2 within the last
Another one
2
that's
years.
pretty common, and it's with kids. There's 2 with kids. So if they have ADHD or ADD and they're prescribed medication for it, and they're under 9 years old, it's a decline. They cannot get coverage. If they are over 9, they're good. Under 9, no. 9 or older, yes. Okay.
On the DUI thing, just from.
And then the other one is for autism. Same thing. 9 years old. Lower than 9, decline. 9 or older. Okay. Reason being for that, guys, I checked into underwriting for this because I wanted to figure out. I ran into someone like maybe 2 years ago, a young guy who had a kid with autism. All the kids were healthy except for one daughter. She was 8 years old. And I sent it through the home office and it got declined. And I called them and I was like, why is it declined? You know, she's very high functioning. It was just an extreme, really rare case. What they told me is that age 9 in kids is typically where the doctors can prescribe the correct, medication for them.
The correct dosage.
Yes. So it's more or less a trial period for the kids within those first couple of years with ADHD and autism, because those spectrums are not defined. That makes sense. One kid could be over here, one kid could be over here, and then they flip-flop, right? But being up till 9 years old, it gives the underwriters at our home office an 8 to 9 year period to look back at and to see if that their health is consistent at that point. Does that make sense? So it just gives our underwriters more time to look at that kid's health.
So is that if they're diagnosed under 9, or is that if they're just under 9 period?
Diagnosed.
Okay, so if you catch them when they're 12 and they were diagnosed before they were 9 years old, that's the decline.
You're good. If they're diagnosed and they're over 9 years old, they're good. I mean, they're gonna be rated and trialed, but they can get coverage. They won't be declined right off the bat. Okay. So no, anything on this underwriting flash sheet, if they get approved for it, just know there's gonna be a rating attached to it, or it's gonna be a trial application. Because these underwriting things are like extreme cases of bad health or bad habits. Does that make sense? The other thing with the underwriting flash sheet and the habits, if somebody has if a questionnaire comes back for alcohol, drugs, or arrests, you have to fill out all 3, not just one of them. So if it comes back for an arrest questionnaire, you have to fill out the drug questionnaire and the alcohol questionnaire too. Even if the answers are all no, you still have to fill it out. Does that make sense? Okay.
So I ran into this problem on Sunday where one of the couples, I used that ITN number because they weren't legal.
Mhm.
And the other one was, what is it called? Yeah, it was a citizen. And it popped up another application or question.
Residency addendum?
For the wife, but she was a citizen, and I mean, I filled it in and I put notes.
Good.
That was fine.
Yes, so if there's ever an addendum that pops up, guys, it didn't pop up just for no reason.
Right.
You have to fill it out. Fill it out the whole way too. If the answer is no, put no, right? The other thing too is when you're filling out these applications and these addendums, you can't just write C medical information. You have to put the doctor's information in, copy and paste it in there, right? You can't just say C remarks page. You're making the underwriters do more work.
Right.
Put the information in, right? That's really what I had. The only thing I had left on the field underwriting and the underwriting flash sheet. You guys have any questions on the flash sheet?
Well, I just have a question, General.
Yep.
For the doctor's info, if it's like I had this guy and he was like, oh, my doctor left the facility, so I'm like in the process of getting a new doctor. Do you put the old doctor's name or do you write like in process of getting like a new doctor?
So it's where their medical records are.
Okay, so just the facility name?
Facility, yep.
Okay.
Because you're gonna run into some people who don't have a doctor. They go to like a clinic or something like that. Just put the name of the facility.
Okay,
Address, phone number.
Add name, address, phone number of facility.
all right, perfect, thanks.
For, I have like two questions kind of. Sometimes I feel like the questionnaire addendum or whatever, sometimes it doesn't pop up. But like for something like like ADHD, would you need to fill out the anxiety questionnaire?
It would be, you'll see like mental illness and you click that button.
So if you have like a 10-year term that you're converting to whole life, just the amount, but you're adding accidental, qualify for that?
Yeah, they have to qualify for the
Would that be trial? It's like a bunch of medications, they're not over 1,000.
If it's not over, well, that's a good question. 1,000 right? So that includes like metformin, that includes medication, medications, and they all add up to 1,000 milligrams. Try, right? If they take one medication, it's 1,000 milligrams. Just try. Typically, you'll see that with diabetes. They'll take metformin. Metformin is very common, right? And it's used twice a day, which is 1,000 milligrams, right? So, get back to your question. When you convert whole life, right, the smart thing to do will put the new on a separate application. That'd be a smart thing to do, because that'll number one give them clear coverage with, and the other one will be probably be a trial, but because they're already approved.
Like if you're converting the term and you're adding ADB on the separate. You're not putting anything in the base.
Whole life, $1,000 whole life. Put $1,000 in whole life and then add 200,000 accidental.
How much is 1,000?
But won't they still have to qualify?
$2 to $3. Yeah, but it's 1,000 a whole life. They're not gonna go through crazy medical questions for 1,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and the main reason why you're gonna do that too is because when you put that through as an agent, you're gonna renew that whole life, right? Based on plans,
Yeah.
and you get different renewals based on different plans.
Yeah.
Right? Best renewal rates, whole life insurance, regular whole life, 10-year term. Right? Same with best advantage as well.
What about a T100?
Yep. The paper app, about the same.
What makes you unqualified for accidental?
A lot of different things.
You got a DUI, they
A lot of
would put an
different things.
addendum that said if death is a DUI accident.
There's no real like has underwriting at home office.
Accidental, right?
I don't think so. There's people they'll take accidental off and they'll take the waiver premium off.
Right.
I would always say just anyway.
Which one?
To it.
What if they had like them up,
It'll be okay.
that we
I mean-
can still put on like ABD and.
Yeah, as long as they weren't like, you know, like I said, I don't really know the guidelines for accidental, for what they take off and what they can. Usually it's prescriptions, right? Or like adverse effect, like adverse driving habits, or you know, a lot of it has to do with that, driving and motor vehicles. So like if they were just in an accident and it was maybe their first one, probably wouldn't be too much of a big deal. Now, if they were really jacked up health-wise because of that accident, maybe they'll take accidental off, but typically they'll just leave it on. Or they'll increase the rate a little bit, increase the premium a little bit to compensate for that.
So for patients, when you ask the question, it's within the last 5 years, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, it's always within the last 5 years. And now if they've been taking a medication for a long time and they just recently got off of it, definitely make sure you put that on there.
Okay.
The reason I say, was this person prescribed anything in the last 5 years? And they're gonna say, yes, it was this. And they're gonna get underwriting bulletin back. You have to fill all that stuff out, get back to the member, send everything back in, and they have to wait. Just do it up front, make it easier, you know? All right, so only got a couple more minutes, guys. I just wanna run through these new applications, okay? So I hit on a lot of these things already, but these are just some more real basic things that we're missing as an agency, okay? One big thing is if you're listing medications, so answer 29B, if they take medications for something and you put high blood pressure on there, click yes to the high blood pressure, please, and fill out the addendum. Like, you need to make sure the medications that you list match the questions, right? I know it's a pain to list things twice right there. Please just do it. Makes the underwriters happy, makes Jackie happy. Guys, I'm telling you, a lot of the reason why I'm doing this right now is to make sure that Jackie's job is easier so she can help Tommy build this agency, okay? The less that she has to look through every single week, the less that your managers have to look through every single week, the more we can help you guys out. But if we're spending 4 to 5 hours, you know, on Tuesday and Wednesday looking at applications and helping you guys fix them, right? That's time we could be spending elsewhere. So what my hope is for this you know, sales coffee today is to make sure you guys just take an extra couple seconds. Make sure the app is filled out properly. Make sure you answer all the medical questions, right? Do the good things up front so that when they come back, they're good too, okay? It's going to help everybody in the agency. It's going to help your retention. It's going to keep Jackie off your back. I'm sure no one here wants Jackie on them 24/7, right?
Wait, so you're saying if they take medications, like, if it's like, for example, high blood pressure, like, you can't just put the patient in the high blood pressure questionnaire, you need to fill it out on the medical thing too,
Yes,
which doesn't always pop up, so you have to add it, right?
correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. I know it takes a couple extra minutes to do it, but just please do it. Just give the underwriters everything that they need to make the process go smooth. All right, does that make sense?
Wait, Drew, what
All
did
right.
Faith say? One more time?
Yep, so Faith asked if they're taking, if you answer yes to the high blood pressure questionnaire and then you fill out the addendum, do I still have to put the list of medications that they take as well? And the answer is yes. So 29B also has to.
Oh, I
That make
thought
sense?
I thought you would put that just on the addendum. I thought it asked on that.
It does, but then the question number 29B says, do you currently take any prescription medications?
Gotcha.
All right, so you gotta fill that out. Let's see what else we have. Already went over this. Doctor's information must have doctor's name, facility name, address, and phone number. Okay, marijuana use. Must have a completed alcohol, drug, and arrest questionnaire included. If they, ask if it's smoked. If smoked, must use tobacco rates. Does that make sense? Okay.
What would you just say if it was if they used marijuana?
If marijuana use must always have completed alcohol, drug, and arrest questionnaires.
And then if they have an at-home physical, do they test for that as well?
Yes, so very good, very, very good question. So guys, in-home physicals, when people get complete physical, they do a urine test, they do blood work, they do like height, weight, they test their blood pressure, they do everything. Right? So if someone that, you know, has not had a physical in the last 5 years and they're doing some sketchy things, prepare them.
Okay.
Please prepare them. Because they're gonna get a physical and they're gonna have someone at their home, they're gonna take a blood test and a urine test.
So even if they're like, especially now because it's legal in Illinois, so like it says like, have you ever abused street drugs? So you'd have to say yes. for
So
that, right?
for marijuana, it's a little different. So if they have their marijuana card, if they have their card, you can list the card on the bottom under the remarks section.
I'm just saying like buying it from a legal dispensary.
It still doesn't change anything. It's still gonna be tobacco use.
Okay.
Yep.
So you would check yes for both or just marijuana?
You would check yes for tobacco use.
If they're smoking marijuana?
Correct.
You have to, because you put NTO won't let you put it unless it matches up with that question.
Does our company not understand that tobacco and marijuana are just different plants?
I don't think it.
It goes with how people typically smoke it.
Oh, you use a blunt, I guess.
Yeah.
So if they had a card, they would still get tobacco ratings and they'd get rated, or how does
Correct.
that affect it?
Yep.
Wow.
If they had a card, they would still get tobacco ratings, right? And you would answer yes to that question. Hold up, guys. Anybody got any other questions on that?
Well, it really doesn't have to do with our company, that's just statewide,
Right.
like the,
Correct. Correct.
okay.
Yep. And it's like our company is in, of course, in 50 states. Each state is different, right? The guidelines are different underwriting wise. Just make sure if they do take a like question, this you marijuana rate. Most people don't tell their doctor that they use marijuana, to be honest.
The physical, you have to tell them. that
Correct.
they'll come.
Couple more things, guys, couple more things. All right. Large face amount, okay? This goes for anything $200,000 or more. All right? $200,000 total in any form, accidental or not, right?
200,000 policies.
If that has more than $200,000 of coverage, if you're applying for more than $200,000 of coverage, you need to do in the remark, and it says a note must be made, annual income and why they need a high amount of coverage. Right, so put house income, that much money. They need covered, they need this much coverage because they need to protect their income. Something small. Does that make sense?
Drew,
It's
so
like
if that's
200,000
100
of that.
accidental with 100 whole life, would you have, is that 200 combined, or are you saying 200 whole life?
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's
Yeah.
like everybody's
Yeah,
right, we
I
all need
definitely-
200.
I- Still more than like.
That's fine, you have to do it.
But I'm like.
Wait, what-
I asked that before.
March.
Cut out, Drew. You cut out, Drew. What'd you say?
Protection or income protection?
I said, these are guidelines as of March 16th, 2021. So these are guidelines, so I'm going over them with you. Right,
No, I
so
mean, what I just asked.
Mason asked 100,000 of whole life and 100,000 of 200,000. Yes, you have to, why they need it, why they're applying for this much coverage.
Why? And
So
then
that,
Yep.
then whole
So
life combined.
down there. Cover, why do you need
You guys have any other questions? Just joking.
No, that's it.
I think I'm good, bro.
All right, well, you know, you guys, you just want to make sure we're not messing anything up. You know, making sure Jackie's not going to be emailing anybody. So, just
Sure, for sure.
It's very new. Everybody. All right, sorry guys, keeps cutting in and out.
I have a question. I'm not sure if it's like, let's say like you had a bunch of things in the remarks and it's full. You can always put something else like the Spanish speaking you needed in the notes, in the sales notes.
Yes, yes.
Like if you fill up the remarks and you had to add something else, when you send in the app, you can put in the sales note.
Correct.
Spanish speaker, needs Spanish rep, driver's licenses, whatever else.
Yep. So you can, if that was a good question. So Marvin asked if sometimes you have to put the two dogs. If they because the so the policy they you're in those sales notes too. Okay. You're not Correct.
Rated or?
Usually goes. Of a deal. Especially hyper. Cause just.
She was taking like 100. It's like a real small dosage too.
I mean. Right. Coumadin. Coumadin's another one, or any kind of blood thinner. COUMADIN. MADIN. Another one, and these are just like guys, these are going to get dinged every time. Anything that says methadone, morphine, oxycontin, oxycodone, Percocet, Xanax, any of that shit. Okay. Any of that stuff is a trap. Okay. If they're prescribed it, yes. If they don't take it currently, so no. I mean, if they don't take it currently,
If someone just has surgery or something and they have like whatever it is.
yeah, you gotta put it on there.
It's like as needed.
You still have to put as needed on there.
But I mean, like.
If it's prescribed, you have to put it on the application.
Right.
Because they're gonna, let's say that you forgot that off the application. Let's say you forgot it. What's gonna happen is they're gonna call the doctor, and the doctor's gonna say that this person takes this medication. And it's gonna come back as an underwriting bulletin for you. And you can't get a hold of them in 2 weeks, it opens to the agency, someone takes it, or drops off, you never get it back. So put it on front.
The company just found out from the doctor though, why do you need a bulletin from us? They just talk to the doctor. You're good to go now. You're off.
Because you have to get a sign off on it. Yes. Okay, I mean, that's all I really had for everyone today. And I know Steve got another question. Go ahead.
For new applicants, 60 to 70, or like, so, 60, 69, I guess. They can qualify for the super combo, right? If they qualify.
Yeah.
If they get more.
So yeah, if someone's 60 or older, it's automatically going to pop up a senior super combo. And if you guys seen the senior super combo, the max they can get is $30,099. If they're healthy, if they can answer all the medical questions on a normal application, healthy, then yeah, you can show them the other application. Okay. If someone's 60 or older, you're not going to see whole life on that super combo. It'll just say preferred life, executive life, select life. Does that make sense?
Wait, and so then, but they are probably gonna have to get like an exam or something, right?
Just know that
Yeah,
if someone's 60 or older and they're applying for basic whole life coverage, not the graded whole life, then they're gonna have to jump through some hoops.
Yeah.
Just know that.
How can they even apply? It doesn't pop up.
Hey, Drew, I have a question.
I think meant like the whole life.
Yes.
Whole life plan.
Well, it won't pop up because they have to get senior graded at that point. Yeah, that's a good question. Jay, go ahead, man. What's up?
So if somebody had a stroke, heart attack, or any cardiovascular diseases, how long from that incident would they have before they can qualify for our programs again?
So if they've had a heart attack or stroke?
Yes.
So what you said? Okay,
Yes.
So heart attacks, if they've had one in the last 5 years, they should be okay, right? Make sure you note that though, right? Now, if they've had 2 or more and they smoke, they're gonna get declined. Or if they've had 2 or more in the last 2 years, declined. Stroke and heart attack, yes.
If they've had a stroke or heart attack and it hasn't been in the past 2 years, they're good.
Is that on the
5 years.
5 years. Sorry.
5 years, yes.
That's on the flash sheet, right?
Correct. It's on the underwriting flash sheet, yes. Yep.
Question.
Yep.
So if they've been denied before, how long after can they reapply or they're just going?
So that's a very good question. If they have been denied for coverage, the next policy that you put through is a trial application automatically. Does that make sense?
No matter how long.
No matter how long ago they were declined, no matter for what reason they were declined for, the next application you put through is an automatic trial application.
How long?
What have they been rated?
How long do you have to wait?
I mean, I just use 6 months, to be honest.
What if they're rated and then it wasn't taken out?
Then it depends on how long it's been. If it's within the first like 3 months, you got to reinstate that. Right? If it's longer than that, you can reopen it.
So I had a
You can't rewrite that policy.
I had a POS. They got a rating from us, but it was not taken out. Some other agent tried to sell them and they thought their policy would last, so they had no idea. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The app, I did another application, but I just put it through. So does that mean it needed to be trialed?
In that instance, yes.
They were approved for coverage.
What you should have done,
They were rated and then it wasn't taken out.
you should have reopened. You should have reopened the application. If you ever say anything that gets NTO'd, you guys can reopen it. And you're gonna need to fill out whatever they needed for underwriting. So, like if they needed they needed to call the 1-800 number, you have to have them call the 1-800 number first and then send the reopen forms to them. Like I just ran into this yesterday. So you need to call home office first and do whatever you have to do on the underwriting bulletin, whatever forms you got to fill out on the underwriting bulletin, and then send a reopen form. So the company has.
2 years ago?
If it was 2 years ago, you can rewrite it. I'm talking about anything like that NTO.
This was like, he was sold in like 2015.
Oh, no, then you can write an application there. You're okay.
What if it goes incomplete? What if the application went incomplete a couple years ago?
You can still write a new one.
Okay.
You're okay.
So I've never had anyone that was like rated or like they at least never say yes to that question. If you get yes to that, does it pop up the little window where it's like rated or declined? Okay.
Yep.
And then a question pops up, it asks what did they apply for?
Yep.
You know, all that stuff.
Or are they rated? Did they go with their rating? Things like that. Yep.
And if they get declined from a trial, they don't have to say yes to that.
Doesn't affect anything. Correct. Yep. All right. I mean, anybody else here have questions? I know you guys are chomping at the bit to go write some business. Let's get on that. Anybody virtual got questions for me? No.
Nice job, bro.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Serve some people.
Thanks, Drew.
See you guys later.
Oh, bro.